Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the B2B Content Show, a podcast about the how, what, and why of B2B content marketing. The show is brought to you by Conversa, a podcasting agency that helps B2B brands connect with prospects, grow brand awareness, and create better content. I'm Jeremy Shere, and my guest is Jennifer Durishin, head of marketing at Prodigal, a B2B SaaS startup bringing technology to the credit and lending industry. Jennifer, great to see you. Thanks so much for making time for us.
Great to be here, and thanks for having me.
So now, when we connected a few weeks back and we were chatting about what to talk about in the podcast, you mentioned that you're hiring and you're looking
Yes.
for a content marketer. And then we thought, you know what? Let's talk about that because the job market is constantly in the news these days. So it seemed pretty timely. So let's get right into it. What position are you advertising for right now?
Yes. So that's right. I am currently hiring for a content marketing manager for our marketing team. And this
Okay.
person will lead and develop compelling content that appeals to our target audience.
What are you seeing so far? I ask that just because, you hear, and I think it's true, that it can really be difficult to find exactly the right fit.
Yes. So I think so it's going okay. I will say is number one is that I'm getting a lot of applicants. And so as we think about, our funnel, you want to get a lot of people in the door.
Hmm.
But the reason I hesitated a little bit is because I'm getting so many candidates, but I'm seeing that many of them are not qualified or have at least not shown me that they've taken the time to read the job description that we provided and we wrote. And or they're not even modifying their resumes to show that they've read the job description. And so I'm having to, you like to, reduce the funnel and remove some people, but it's a lot of people are having to be moved out of the process just from the resume itself. So
Yeah,
that's what's been a little bit frustrating.
that does sound frustrating. Where did you post the job notice?
Yeah. So we use a software called Lever for our job postings. And so we have, I think it does automatically go out to LinkedIn, which I'm actually a little bit bummed about because
Hmm.
I think it's just so easy to apply for jobs these days, which is why people don't read the job description. There's that easy apply and they just go through it. And so we're on LinkedIn, I believe, as well as Ada. It's a startup site for jobs, otta.com. We're on some other job boards for startups like Angel List, which has now been renamed Well Found. I was trying to really target those people who are interested in working at a startup or a Series A startup. It's very different than working at other places. And so I was really trying to target those folks. And so I'm seeing more success from those specific sites versus
Hmm.
other places like LinkedIn.
The challenge is you just get flooded with resumes. And
Yes.
as you just said, a lot of them, even kind of at a glance, you're like, well, why is this person applying for this job? Like it makes no sense.
Yes. Well, and
Hmm.
specifically, this is a content marketer, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, the number one role in this job is you have to love to write. I don't care about
Mm.
anything else. The most important thing is you have to love to write. And so, what's also really interesting is that I'm not seeing a lot of people take the time to even write a short cover letter. I mean, if this is a writing role, you can really
Mm.
make yourself stand out by just spending a few moments and showing me, even in that cover letter, because I do read those, that, why you're the best person for this role, why we should look at your resume, why we should interview you.
The resumes you're getting or the applications you're getting that have stood out so far, what are you seeing?
Yeah. So of course, if you get a cover letter and you've shown me that you've read the job posting and you have that appropriate experience. So I'm only looking for 4 years of content marketing experience at a minimum to start. And so that, that's a good thing. Then also just showing and making it really easy, either through your job titles or your experience on the resume, showing that you've done or had some experience writing before, working in content. That's really key as well. I've seen a lot of resumes, which is just shocking to me, that don't have any, not even the word content on the resume. So it's like an automatic
Mm.
disqualification. But we have had some interviews, virtual interviews, which has been good, but we haven't filled the role yet. So it's still
Mhm.
open. So I would say
Mhm.
those things, I'm not asking for a ton, but I also think it's really important too that, we're going through this process, we're investing the time on our side. Like Minnie, I probably needed a content marketer yesterday. I really need
Mm.
to fill
Yep.
this role. We're having to handle it in the interim, and all of our team, do double duty. But I think it's really important that we take our time, do our due diligence, go through the process, make sure it's a good fit on both sides, making sure that's a good culture fit for the employee, the person looking for the role, as well as for us. Because the worst thing is if we fill this role and then have to, make changes a couple of months down the road, that's not going to be good for anyone. So I really love the phrase hire slow, fire fast. I think that's really
Mm.
important now more
Mhm.
than ever. And even when, I mean, there's a lot of people on the job market or a lot of people looking for roles, right? There's been a lot of people affected negatively, maybe by layoffs, and there's some really good talent out there. And I've seen some of that, which makes me optimistic. But I still know it's really, really important to still go through and do your due diligence and go through the whole process.
Yeah, so you can find precisely the right fit or as close to that as you can
Yes.
get. So you've
Yes.
already mentioned one qualification is that this person needs to be a strong writer. What other qualities are you
Yeah.
looking for?
And I'll elaborate too a little bit too on that part about having or you have to love writing.
Mhm.
It's so much so, like, I don't want you to be afraid of that blank page. In fact, I want you to embrace it, and words bring you life. And I also know this is not my strength, and so when I'm hiring for this too, it's like you always try to offset and make sure that, people coming in the door, you're making sure your team is well-rounded, you guys support each other and complement each other's strengths, and so I think that is just really, really important. The amazing thing too about content is it's obviously not just the initial writing, but it's researching, it's editing,
Mm.
including SEO keyword research, right? It's not just start something and then finish it right away. So all these keys are really, really important. And then must, amplify a story because I want this person to be a master storyteller and really pull
Mm.
it all together. So I think that's um, really, really key. And then being a self starter is really important, especially we're in a startup. Everyone is doing a lot of roles. Everyone is moving really fast. And so, and we're in a remote environment. So I'm not going to be standing over anyone's shoulder, seeing what they're doing. But, we'll be interacting a lot. But I think being a self starter is really important.
Mhm.
Someone who takes pride in their work and it shows. This is really evident when it comes out through content, but super important for this role as well. And then the last thing is a high sense of urgency and organization while managing multiple products, right? It's never just do one thing, be done, go on to the next.
Mhm.
Being able to kind of spin those multiple plates at once and then finish things through to completion. Executing in a startup is really, really important. We all have a lot of good ideas, but taking those ideas and then putting them into some finished product is really important.
What are you looking for during the interview?
Yeah. So the one thing I start off a lot of my interviews too, it's more like a conversation. It's not like putting them on the stand or making them see like they're taking a test because I really think it's back to that it's got to be a good fit on both sides, like culturally. They're obviously looking for some place they want to be successful, they want to, accelerate and move their career. We're looking for someone who's going to fill this role as a content marketer, but also they're going to be a good fit to our company culture. Like it's a lot of things we're trying to match for each other. And so that's how I approach them, more like a conversation. I'm not trying to trip them up. But then,
Mhm.
of course, I'm asking them about their experience. Tell me about, specifically what content you've written. One of the questions I like to ask, although I get the response of it's kind of like trying to choose your favorite child, is what sort of content do you like to write the best? Is it short form, mid form, or long
Mhm.
form? And sometimes, you know, it's kind of all of them, but I think I also wanna know too, it can be, demanding and easy to do some of those, like, more maybe, shorter form things, but you have to dedicate some time to do some of the longer form ones, right? A white paper doesn't just appear, in a day or two, right? You have to be able to kind of do the hard things sometimes. And so I'm listening for that as well. And then I ask, just about culturally, like same things they're looking for. I tell them about us, our company, our team, kind of the team dynamics, how we work together. Those are some of the questions I ask.
Hmm. And I assume you asked for some writing samples, right?
Yes. So, well, before
Hmm.
that, because I also want to balance, like, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want them to waste my time. So after
Hmm.
that, then I'll ask for the portfolio. Yeah.
Hmm.
Of it, depending on, if they haven't already given it to me, but I'll ask for some examples of portfolio of work as well. And then eventually I do want to do a mini assignment, and I won't use anything. I don't think that's appropriate unless I'm going to compensate them. But there's a couple of things that I'm thinking about as far as an assignment, like either, give us some ideas or critique or spend, less than 30 minutes writing something. But I think that's also really important too, because it shows that they're really committed to this. They're interested, they're moving forward. Again, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to get free consulting. I'm not going to use this anywhere. But I think it really just shows that people are invested and they're interested and they're taking this seriously, which is really important too.
So, both in the portfolio and especially in this assignment, what are you looking for? And specifically, what are like red flags when you see you're like, okay, no, this isn't going to work out?
Yeah. So, I mean, we are in the B2B space. You can call it sometimes it's technical writing. And so I'm trying to understand when I look at some of their examples, it's not a requirement for you to have fintech experience. It's not a requirement for you to have to actually written to these audiences. But when I'm looking at some of these portfolio examples, I'm really trying to, as a reader, try to understand and make sure I can, number one, follow what they're writing, understand what the point of this piece is, for example. Try to understand how well researched it is. Is it really truly adding value? And so, there's a lot of variety of writing out there. I haven't necessarily eliminated someone completely on just that portfolio, but I think it really does show, what are you capable of? What have you done before to kind of know what baseline we're starting with.
Hmm.
But I've seen
And
some that I'm just like, this is just okay. Like I said, I'm not
yeah.
that great at writing, but if I'm like, I could do this, that's not, I'm kind of like, this is
Mm.
not what I'm looking for. This is not going to supplement what I can do already. It's another thing I'm looking at, or my team is already doing together.
Okay, well, right, good point. I mean, you specifically need someone who's going to do that at a higher level than,
Yes.
than you can do. I mean, so let's say I don't know, spelling mistake, some
Ugh,
grammar errors.
that's
Like,
automatic.
is that an automatic kick to
Yeah,
the curb?
yeah.
Okay.
Especially if it's
Okay.
published. I mean, we are all human and it will happen at times, but yeah, I mean, especially something like this, like you have got to have checked it already.
Hmm.
That would be something that would kind of be a flag like, okay, we can all do better.
And so on the positive side of the ledger, then what are you looking for that'll make you
Yeah.
say like, oh, this person really is a pro?
Yeah. So when I've seen so I mentioned the technical writing, and I think at the end of the day, though, it's still important to say, hey, we're even a very niche audience, but we're still selling to humans at the end of the day. And
Right.
so when I've seen some really good writing, it's bringing in some new idea or thought leadership, but kind of also weaving it in either into a story, right? Or making it relatable with something else they deal with all the time, making you literally want to read it to the end, I think
Mm.
is really good. And also like, okay, I learned something at the end here. And so I've actually talked to a couple of people who have written in our space. So we are um, serving and selling to financial credit and lending companies who operate contact centers or call centers.
Mhm.
And there's actually a fair number of companies in this space. And so they've actually had this experience. I'm really like I'm shocked that they had this experience in this, but some of
Right.
the pieces have been really good and really been able to do that basically having that technical aspect as well as, teaching me something new and telling a story at the same time.
What's the takeaway for our listeners?
The main takeaway is do your diligence, go through your process, take your time, and make sure you find the right person for your company, even though you're probably wanting someone in that seat yesterday. Be patient.
Patience, right. Like you said, what was the phrase before? Hire slowly and fire fast. Was that it?
You gotta, yeah, hire slow, fire
Yeah.
fast.
All right, Jennifer. Well, thank you so much for that. I think that's some really good advice. And, as you said, hiring the right person is so key for, building out your team and creating the best content you can. So thanks so much for sharing all that. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. It flew by quickly, and so that must have been it was a really good time. Thanks again.